Hello everyone, A-2.3.1.1 here, bringing you the next in my actually helpful tutorial series. In my last video I went over bee breeding basics, and in this video I'm just going to cover a couple extra things you can do with your alveary and some tips on automating it with an ME network. So let's take a look at what blocks you can add to your alveary. The first block is a frame housing. And what the frame housing does is allows you to add frames to your alveary, just like an apiary. The only major difference is that with an alveary, you can actually automate the frames. Alveary lighting does exactly what it sounds like it does. It just lights up the alveary, allowing your bees to continue to work at night. An alveary fan will cool your alveary, allowing you to lower the temperature inside, which lets you breed bees that require colder climates and warmer climates. The downside of this block is that it does require at least 1 MJ a tick to function. Remember that when connecting it, it will actually consume all the MJ you feed it, so you might want to use something like an energy cell to choke the feed in order to only supply it with 1 MJ a tick. If using an energy cell, also remember that 10 RF is equal to 1 MJ. The alveary heater is similar to the alveary fan, except that instead of cooling the climate inside the alveary, it heats it. The alveary hydroregulator is an interesting block that increases or decreases the humidity inside of the alveary. It requires a constant supply of either water or lava and will increase or decrease the humidity based on which one you give it. Lava will decrease the humidity, but will also increase the temperature of the alveary by 20%. Water will increase the humidity, but decrease the temperature by 20%. An alveary stabilizer is a block which allows you to keep breeding bees of the same species. It will prevent your bees from breeding into any new species that they might possibly evolve into. An alveary sieve is a block that allows you to take advantage of the capacity of bees to mutate trees nearby. A sieve will take pollen that would have pollinated a tree and stores it inside for crossbreeding with different trees. This is useful for arboriculture since it reduces the space required to breed trees of the same variety. This block requires wood and silk to be put in the left item slot in order to operate. A mutator is basically the opposite of the stabilizer, in which it will increase the chance for your bees to mutate into a new species. Depending on what item you place in your mutator, it will increase the likelihood of your bees to mutate. Soul Sand will give you a 1.5 times higher success rate, Ender Pearls will give you 2 times higher, and Eye of Ender will increase your likelihood 4 times, Uranium Ore will give you 10 times higher, and Another Star will give you 50 times. The Swarmer can be a very useful block for increasing the number of bees you have. It requires royal jelly to operate, and will create a swarm hive in a large area around itself. The swarm hive will yield bees as a normal beehive, but these bees can only live for a limited amount of generations. At some point, the queen will no longer yield a princess among its offspring, so even though the swarmer will give you more princesses, they will not stay around forever, and you need to keep the swarmer running. So now I want to show you an example of how to automate your apiaries or alvearies with an ME network. Over to the left, I have a number of storage chests. The thing about bees is that they can have different species or different genomes, and when this happens, they'll take an additional slot in your ME chest. I only use 1K storage drives because of this. It's a good idea to try and increase the number of types of items your chest can hold versus increase capacity. Over to the right, you'll see a long line of apiaries, and on top I have a device called a fuzzy export bus. What this does is it allows the ME network to export items of a similar name or durability so that you can export bees or broken items into adjacent inventories. Here I have this fuzzy export bus set to export forest princesses or forest drones. On the left you can see a little button that currently says match any. Now there are 2 major settings that you want to pay attention to on this. When set to match any, the export bus will export any princess or any drone, meaning it could export meadow princesses or meadows drones or drones and princesses of any variety. If I set this to split damage, and it doesn't matter what percent, you can have it at 99 or 25%, it will only export forest princess or forest drone and not any other species. Depending on how you want to breed your bees, this setting can be incredibly important. Sadly, there is currently no way to export frames into the apiary or automate them, I haven't found a source of information that accurately depicts a way to put frames into apiaries automatically. If you absolutely want frames in your apiaries, you'll have to do it manually. As for extracting resources from your apiaries, you don't have to have a fuzzy import bus. In this example I do, but you can just use a regular import bus. Here I have an automated alvary. I have a single frame housing block, which is allowing me to automatically export frames into the alvary using a precision export bus. I just have the export bus set to move proven frames, which are stored over in a chest over here, and then placed inside the alvary. Over to the left I have a fuzzy export set similarly to all the rest of my apiaries, and then another import bus. This alvary is working completely automated, and I've never manually put a single item inside here. That's all my advanced tips for bee breeding. In my next video I'm going to go over how to create a GregTech fusion reactor. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to rate and subscribe.